And now, Podtendo presents Sidequest Cinema.
Some men are coming to kill us. We're gonna kill them first. Skyfall, rated PG-13, in IMAX November 9th.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Podtendo podcast. We're doing not a numbered show, so I don't know I was going to start with that one. Welcome to Podtendo Sidequest Cinema. There we go. I figured it out. Great start to the year. Watch some movies. I'm your host, Mick, joined by
Tyson.
Cool. Yeah.
It's kind of a tradition at this point. We do James Bond movies in
So,
January.
No, we did GoldenEye like 2 years ago, and then last year we didn't do a movie. I guess because we were doing like X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it should be a tradition. We did a James Bond game. We played a James Bond game. We just didn't watch the movie. Which kind of, I think because we were trying to do too much. I think that was the problem, is there was too many X-Men movies.
Yeah, and it just takes up time. Just clogs the schedule of us trying to be like, let's do things. And then we're like, yeah, but every other week we're doing a X-Men movie.
But in honor of...
Had X-Men actually, like, 97 actually got released last year, would it worked thematically? But...
Yeah, we didn't time that one well. But just in honor of New Year's Day, which was only just a few days ago, guys. Hopefully the New Year's is going well. What else are you going to do on New Year's Day but have a James Bond marathon on TBS, just like they used to have back in the day. So what did we do? Threw on Tyson's favorite, at least that's what he claims, James Bond film in Skyfall. And we're off to the races. So here we go. Dropping little I don't know. That's like nostalgia, right? Little James Bond on New Year's Day.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you can kind of call back to like what was premiere TV or scheduled TV, whatever you want to call it, where it's like everybody gather around. We're watching some movies. We're watching this marathon of stuff. Get your snacks, and here we go. So,
solid.
And
we're
diving into Skyfall. So,
did you actually watch James Bond on New Year's Day?
I don't know if I did, to be honest. But I was watching some James Bond around that time, so I might have hit it accidentally, not intentionally.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we did Two Towers, and then some like TV. It was like a Doctor Who or something like that. They special and like Marvel's What Ifs. Good times. So I lied. I didn't actually watch this, but I watched it before I did this podcast today. So we'll just pretend I did. So today we're looking at James Bond in Skyfall. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it should be. Release date was November 9th, 2012. The runtime of this film was 143 minutes. The budget was $150 to $200 million. The box office saw $1.109 billion. It was directed by Sam Mendes, produced by Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, and the cast include Daniel Craig, Javier Bardem, Ralph Fiennes, Naomi Harris, Berenice Marlowe, Albert Finley, and Judi Dench.
Yeah. I mean, I love this cast. There's some cool stuff that happens in this movie. I'm going to save it because I'll go off on a tangent. But great cast.
We could just pull the Band-Aid off now. It's pretty damn good film. So we'll get through the development details, do our first memories quick, terrible plot summary, and then we can talk about this film. So hopefully you can rush a little bit. And I don't know if there's too much going on in the back end of this one, so it might be a bit of a shorter episode, which again, not the end of the world, not a terrible thing. So development detail of Skyfall. Development began in 2009, but was suspended due to MGM's financial troubles. This was the first Bond movie filmed completely in digital. A lot of the filming occurred in London. They would film at night for shots in public spaces. The finale was planned for Duntris Castle in Argyll, but shortly after filming began, the location was changed to Glencoe. Although supposedly in Scotland, Bond's family home was constructed in Hankley Common in Surrey. Production was criticized for allegedly damaging buildings while filming a motorcycle chase across rooftops. Wilson, however, denied this, pointing out that the crew had removed sections of the roof before filming and would replace them with temporary replicas.
Yes. Well, they're very strict about their what quality, what type of roofing material you use over there. It's got to be historically accurate.
I think that was in Turkey, though. I think that's where the chase happens. Yeah, I don't know. The notes were like, right. I don't know. What do you want? Like, I kind of scoured them, and I was like, well, I don't need to tell you about all the locations in London.
I mean, I love looking at all the locations. That's something that I do because, I mean, if I ever go traveling, I'm like, if I can bang off seeing a few James Bond locations.
Yeah, except when you only stay in, like, well, I guess China and then England. I couldn't do a Bond vacation for this one in cultural significance because I'm like, well, he's just kind of in, like, London.
He really is.
Yeah.
For us Canadians, that's a vacation. But I guess if you're like, from London, you're like, this isn't a vacation or a destination.
Oh, wow.
You're just
the Thames.
Cruising.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Huh.
You do see some beautiful parts of Scotland because, I mean, oh my God, but I love the cinematography of this movie. Even the Thames looks beautiful. It's amazing how they dress it up and make it all like so pretty.
It does look very, very good. So with that out of the way, what is about your first memories of this film? So I recall this movie coming out, but at the time I hadn't watched the first two Daniel Craig movies, so I didn't really have interest in it. Tyson, you put it on a flash drive for our parents, so I watched it, I think probably around the Christmas break that year. So pirated version, probably close into 2012. And I recall it being decent, and it probably wasn't until I rewatched it maybe a few months later that I was like, oh, this isn't just a cut and paste James Bond movie. There's more going on. And then I heard a little bit more discourse, and that's kind of it. So first memories for yourself. What do you recall about this film?
I unfortunately I cannot recall me seeing this in theaters. I cannot think if I saw this in theaters. Like it's a blank spot. I don't know what I was doing in 2012, but my brain might have been somewhere else. Yeah. So, but I mean, I remember watching this for the first time and just being absolutely just wowed. I think it was the movie that kind of rekindled my deep love for James Bond to a point where I was like, I had to rewatch all the movies and I had to really like go into it. Hence the flash drive on, because if I ever went out to our parents' place, I needed to watch a James Bond movie when I was on vacation, and I wasn't going to call my DVDs with me. That's an insane person. But I think I remember even at this time going to a lot of pawn shops when pawn shops were still like had fun DVDs, and I got some old.
They still
DVD
have
case.
DVDs.
Okay, good. But I remember like I would go out of my way to go to pawn shops to see if they had old, just specifically for James Bond and retro video games as one does.
Nice.
But yeah, that's kind of my first memories of this.
Cool, sweet. Yeah, like I know I had seen it, and it wasn't until later I heard maybe some guys talking about it on a podcast, and they were discussing some theories, and I was like, well, that's kind of fun. And then same idea, like saw some videos on YouTube or something, kind of dive in a bit more, and I was like, oh, and like look at this deleted scene, and like, oh, that makes more sense if you look at it this way, and you're like, oh. So I think I probably went back kind of after the subsequent discourse, right? And I was like, oh yeah, cool. But you guys are out of the loop. You don't know what you're talking about. This is Skyfall. You've probably never even seen this movie. Barely anyone ever has. They just sold 2 tickets for $500,000 each, and only 2 people ever saw it in theaters. So we need to go into Podtendo's terrible plot summary and catch everybody up. All right, ready? Choo-choo, here we go. Jump aboard the terrible plot summary train. James Bond gets shot off a train while trying to rescue a stolen hard drive and dies. He comes back to life after someone tries to kill M. He does some training, visits China, meets the bad guy, and captures him. The bad guy escapes. Bond chases and almost gets clipped by the tube. Time for a final showdown in Bond's childhood home with M before he saves the day.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem with James Bond movies is the plot, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. But you did a good job. It's just he's going on an adventure. He's back after the. Oh,
I would say that this Bond film, like the reason why it's one of the better ones, is because it's just so clean.
Yeah, this is the ones where like it makes sense. There's some parts that are like dumb, but that's just in every James Bond movie.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like there's James Bonds, and you're like, yeah, remember that time he was in the jungle with that girl? What the hell was that about? Because then like later he was in a casino, and then like he was in a secret base. Like why was he in the jungle though? And you're like, oh, he needed to go and like get a satellite or something. I don't know. And you're like, oh, okay, well why didn't you explain that?
Yeah, or he was looking for a flower, and you're like, Was he? When was a flower in there? There was one scene where they talked about it. Don't worry about it.
So because they don't, this movie is pretty clean. Like literally all the scenes I told you, you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of all that happens. Obviously a little bit more nuanced in certain parts and a lot more goes into it, but pretty clean, guys. Like I think we even had like an overarching theme of this film. We haven't watched a movie in a while that had an overarching theme from like start to finish and had like a point it was trying to make. Ha! Crazy. All right, cool. Skyfall. Look at the things you do. Or we just set the bar really low.
You know what? It's kind of maybe a little both, but I'm biased because I love this movie and it's a guilty pleasure. So I could watch this. I could watch this movie incessantly, forever. This is Desert Island movie for me for sure. So
nice, solid. I was coughing, so I had my mic muted. I'm back. I was trying to be like, oh well, if you like it so much, let's get into the review, and nothing came out. My little mouth open, but no sound came out. It was so sad. But the review, we start off with our favorite part of the movie. So what is your favorite part of the movie?
I was thinking about this on my ride home today, and I was kind of debating between one of two ways.
Okay.
I love the formation of the Scooby Gang, as I like to call them, or as they're kind of like colloquially called. I forget who I heard it, but it's just like now they're called the Scooby Gang in my mind, where it's like we get a new M, and we get a new Q, and we get a new Moneypenny, and the whole gang's together, and they're going to help James Bond. I'd be like, this is fantastic, because in Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, we had M, but there was not a Q, and there wasn't really a Moneypenny or anything. There was kind of like felt lacking. But this was like,
hey, what I mean? Eva Green was there the whole time.
Yeah, but she's a plot character, not a supporting character that keeps coming back.
Okay.
But my favorite part is just the soundtrack. Okay. I love what the composer does in this. I forgot his name off the top of my head. I feel terrible. I looked it up earlier. Now I can't remember it. I think it's David Newman. I could be wrong. Anyways, he does such a good job. And this is a soundtrack. I sometimes just like when I'm cleaning the house or I'm working and I need to just focus because it's just like horns and strings, and it's just beautiful. I love it. And there's so many times where even like I think it's the Istanbul opening theme, where he walks through the highway or walks into the street, and the movie kind of like he gets picked up by Moneypenny. That song was a song that I legitimately just added to like a random workout mix because it's got like a funk to it. So if you're running or like lifting weights, you can kind of like get in the groove. It's
sweet.
I love the soundtrack. What's your favorite part of this movie?
So I do have a guilty. So I did rewatch it. It was maybe a little bit short on time. It was like 2.5 hours. I watched this film at 1.5 speed.
Okay.
You kind of get used to it after a while. Honestly, if it's just a film you're going back to rewatch, like speed multipliers, not the worst thing in the world. As a result, I probably didn't appreciate the music because everything is sped up. So if you do want those auditory cues, the conversation's a lot quicker, right? You have to kind of keep up, but you do miss out. So I unfortunately do not get to appreciate kind of the music of this. Maybe I'll have to go back and put it on a playlist someday while I'm like reading or something. Myself, I kind of like Javier Bardem's like introduction in this film, right? So when he first kind of heads to the island after the China bar or casino part, he meets Silver, I believe his name is. I don't know the rest of his name.
Silva.
Silva. And he kind of just goes and explains his whole process, right? And he kind of outlines, he's like, oh, I can do anything I want in the world. He's like, I made this whole plant disappear just by one alarm. Everyone just left. He's like, I can do whatever. I can topple governments. I can cause famines. I can cause financial crippling. He's just with a stroke of a key. He's like, I can do anything in this room. He's like, but I need to show you more. And then he has a scene where he takes the acquaintance of James Bond, this woman, out to this room, puts a shot glass on her head. They both take turns trying to knock the shot glass off. And on his first attempt, he just shoots her in the stomach. And he says, there. And so much is explained about this character's motives.
Yeah.
Without him explicitly being like, see, I'm evil and I don't care about other people. It's just so clean and so crisp, and it's just it's a very enticing scene. And everything's done just expertly well. Like whoever did this was really dialed into the film they were making. But not only that, but the James Bond. So at first they have he pours 2 shots of scotch for both of them, takes his, places it on the woman's head, and as soon as he walks away, James Bond just kind of like looks away, takes a shot of the scotch. He's like, I'm not wasting this liquor. This is my favorite. Like, absolutely just dialed in. It's great. The chopper show, all of a sudden he's captured. I'm like, wait, what's happening? Like, they already beat this guy? And it's just such an excellent catalyst for like the end of this film, right? Like I almost feel like the kind of climax of the movie almost starts then, because it's just a constant thrill ride towards the end of the film, right? And Silva is the main focus, right? From that point forward, he is as integral to the plot as as James Bond, and it's just nice to meet your villain and understand him rather than just being
Totally.
like, I'm evil. So I think just like. But you know what I mean? But without that introduction, I don't know if I love Javier Bardem. It's just, I kind of love him on the island, and the rest of it, I'm like, I'll go with it because he's already kind of won me over. But had they started, say, like in the jail or something, or they muffled up the meeting of him, I don't know if this movie would land as well. So it's that maybe 4 to 5 minutes of this film. It's just, I was glued. I watched it twice yesterday too, because I was like, man, that's a good part of this film. Like, it's really, really good. So I don't know. I just.
Oh yeah, and him talking about the rats.
That's it.
It's fascinating because it's like he's using this like messed up story to like relate to James Bond, and it's kind of like so he's almost like trying to seduce him to his side. And so there's a moment in almost every James Bond movie where the villain and James Bond, whether they know it or not, are almost they can connect on a certain level.
Okay.
And they could see like in a different world these two would almost have been friends. These two, Silva's really, really just trying to almost seduce James Bond, and they have that whole like, what do you or what makes you think this is my first time? And little like all the little lines back and forth is just like these characters just like live and breathe that scene. It's fantastic, and yeah, that one was definitely one of my scenes because I love whenever the villain and James Bond have that moment in the movie where it's like. They can kind of just like sit back and kind of like connect one to one as a person, and you can see where like what separates them, but what almost makes them so similar.
Yeah,
like, that's great.
Excellent, awesome, cool. So I guess like introduction to the villain was pretty cool. So what's our most notable scene or part of this movie? So you haven't seen it for a while. It's been oh yeah, that's good. That's what we want. Lots of gaffs. There we go. All right, so it's been a while. Been a couple of years, and this is like that part of the movie you want to talk about, right? Like what do you want to bring up with your friends, or that part you want to discuss? So could it be the excavator on the train, the song, the attack on MI6, Bond's training montage, sort of kind of Bond meeting Silva, the shot glass scene, Silva's monologue, his escape from MI6, the train crash, prepping for the home attack, the final showdown? I don't know, which notable scene, which you think's the most notable scene in this movie?
Mine, it's kind of again torn between two. James Bond getting shot and quote unquote dying in the beginning. That's an amazing opening scene.
Yeah.
But I think I got to go with M dying.
Okay.
It's the first time. I guess like maybe no. It's kind of the first time a major character, like a Moneypenny or a Q or like an M or James Bond or even a Felix, dies.
Did anything except for be in the first 2 minutes of the movie. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, or be an exposition dump, and she has like she is terrified at the end of it.
Yeah, well, she's a character in this film. She's not just the punchline, right?
Yeah, or like she's the bitchy boss. Blah blah blah. It's like, and in this, it's like the plot's almost just like M's story, and James Bond is just there to try to save her. It's like, because one of the other things in James Bond movies is there's always a damsel in distress or whatever that he's trying to save, and in this movie it's M, and he fails to save her. And it's because of her decisions in the past, which is why what has motivated Silva to come after her. And when those two interact for the very first time, she's very cold and controlling, like she always is. But as soon as she's out of there, she's just like, I have to tell James Bond everything about him. It's like, yeah, I flipped on him because he got in over his head, and I got 6 people back in return. It was the right thing to do. And yeah, it's like, but it's a freak incident that Silva survived and blah, blah, blah. So it's very cool. But it's like, because of her decision to flip somebody, this happens. Like, that's also the same thing. The reason why James Bond gets shot is because she tells Moneypenny, she doesn't have faith in them.
Yeah.
Like, James Bond's never let somebody go before, but now she's getting antsy, and she's like, no, pull the trigger, do it.
Well, yeah, it's kind of her like losing her edge a little bit, right? And I think there is a big, again, one of the themes of this film is aging, right? It's kind of the old ways versus the new ways, right? Like there is a big what's better? There's a couple parts, right, where we just talk about like, look at all the stuff we can do with hacking, and then James Bond kind of represents but here's the old-fashioned way of doing things, right? Like old-fashioned ways still have value in this world too, and we should learn these things, as well as it's just a very like James Bond at the beginning is shown to have weakness. He collapses after doing pull-ups, right? Like he doesn't pass his physical. Yep. 20 minutes later, he's like jumping onto trains, and so it's one of those things. I'm like, it's nice to see that he's human, and like he isn't super powered and he isn't goofy. And then 20 minutes later, you're like, oh wait, never mind. He's jumping off a building with a parachute into a helicopter, and then he's going into a submarine. Okay, yeah, cool, awesome, yeah, okay, makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's some of the problems in the plot.
It's just one of those. Action movies need to be kind of over the top because we can do. They never stop to ask like, but could a man do this? For myself, I like when Silva's escaping and the train crash in the London Underground. That for some reason, that's one of those parts that has always stuck with me. Where I was like, holy smokes, that's kind of impressive, and I haven't seen something like that directly before, right? So like that part stuck out with me. So if it was to say, I would talk about, I was like, oh, I remember that when they're in like the London Underground and there's like a crash, and that's cool. And I've never seen James Bond in the London Underground, and that's such an integral part of London and like the UK culture. Why has he never been there? I mean, because he drives around in an Aston Martin and poor people take the tube. So like that's why. But you know, like they even mentioned that at some point. It's like, this is what rush hour feels like, asshole.
Yeah. And it's like he's in a rush.
Yeah. And then the only other part was the excavator on the train, when the guy decouples the cart. Bond used the excavator to like rip open the back of the train, jumps down, lands, gets up, straightens his tie. It's a pretty cool part too. I think about that once in a while. I'm like, he does have some style. You know? But
yep.
And didn't Daniel Craig actually hurt himself doing that?
Yeah.
Because he might have actually did that stunt and just landing, he actually buggered up his knee or something.
Yeah, I think he blew an ACL or something.
Yeah. So.
And that put off, filming for a while. But I mean, the man, he got the shot. So. Yeah,
there you go. And like alluded to, I think we talked about this just a couple days ago on like our New Year's Eve show, where we're kind of talking about Mission Impossible briefly, and Tyson went off on a tangent about character development. I was like, well, but Mission Impossible is kind of more about like the stunts that Tom Cruise does, right? Like him strapping himself to the side of a plane and taking off repeatedly while filming to get the perfect shot is kind of crazy. Or like learning to fly a helicopter so he could film himself flying a helicopter because it looks better. Like that's kind of why you watch Mission Impossible movies, right? So the stunts don't always hold up, but in this one, honestly, they're pretty good. Like there's lots of practical. I'm getting it. It's just not like when a car crashes, it's not like a car rolls over 50 times and then he drives another. It's a little bit more realistic, grounded in reality, and I think that really helps excel this movie. But those are those two scenes that stuck out with me that I think about, and I'm like, well, that's a cool part. Or like, what film did that come from? Because like when Bond lands on that train, gets up in just his time, man, that looks cool. But that's this one.
Yep. And I mean, I love, I do love me some Mission Impossible. Don't get me twisted on that. I'd like to throw some shade at it because I mean that's the rival of my James Bond franchise, so I'm always gonna throw shade at them.
Yeah, but you're supposed to. It's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise gets shade thrown at him, and he's like, I don't care. I'm still gonna fly off a mountain on a motorcycle. And you're like, I'm
still gonna spend the next 16 months of my life training for this one shot. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. There's and I mean, this is kind of random tangent, but I was talking to Dad, and there was like a real cool scene in an old James Bond movie where the guy has to do a barrel roll in a old AMC vehicle.
Okay.
And they ruin it by adding a slide whistle, and it takes the punchline out of how actually dangerous that is. And I will give props to Tom Cruise, where he does those incredible stunts, and you don't feel like there's a guide wire or whatever. You feel that son of a gun's hanging on the outside of a plane. That man taught himself to fly a fighter jet. Like, that realism sucks you into a movie and it gets you invested. And I love that this movie does that throughout, just like how good Mission Impossible movies do that too. So
nice, solid. Yeah, and you know what? We did go back at some point around No Time to Die, because I obviously seen Skyfall. I think I missed out on Spectre for whatever reason. I think I bought a DVD set that
skip that one.
Yeah, that had it, and I didn't hear anything great about it. Right, and I was like, okay. Anyway,
I like some parts, but I'm also super biased.
If you were to watch James Bond movies, do yourself a favor and just watch the 5 Daniel Craigs, and you'll be like, wow, that was really good.
See, wow, a bunch of fun action movies with some great dialogue.
Yeah, and for the most part, like, they're pretty good. This is obviously the standout, and now we're just talking about other stuff. But I'll be honest with you, my least favorite part of this movie, Tyson. That's our next category. Do you have a least favorite part of Skyfall?
I got one thing, but it's a nitpick. I don't like that Severine dies, like the chick with the shot glass on her head. I love her and Bond's relationship, and I think that their chemistry is incredible. And I wish that she would have been Madeline Swan in Spectre and No Time to Die, where she becomes kind of his like future wife. I felt way more chemistry between those two characters, Severine and Bond, just them talking in the casino and him just like, I've never seen a woman look so terrified while like blah blah blah. And it's like has these two like flawed, broken people have just connected on such an emotional level. And she just generally looks so crushed when the boat's leaving and he's not there. And then she goes down and he's there, and it's like this great little moment. It's like it breaks my heart that she does. It breaks my heart because I wish she would have been Madeline Swan. I think it would have been just like it would have been the icing on the cake.
Yeah, but I think the problem is, you're right. She should have been the Bond girl of this film. And what they do, though, is they subvert our expectations and they kill her right away. And then you're like, what? And you're right. Because M is the actual Bond girl in this one, right? Which you're like, oh, okay, cool. But
absolutely,
it is that kind of that twist, right? So the fact they got that. Yeah, for myself, I was like, I don't know, maybe the fight in the Komodo Dragon Pit. Like, But again, this movie's pretty solid. It's pretty tight. It's pretty clean. Unless we're doing super nitpicky stuff, I don't know if I have do I have a least favorite part? No, I don't. No, nothing really. Like, that's like criticism. Do you have what's your criticism of this film?
Sometimes the plot's a little goofy. Okay. Like, I love it for I love every moment of this movie. But I've heard some criticism of so how did Silva exactly time that James Bond was going to catch him and trigger the train, and the train just so happens to be coming. That part I get. That's a very, very valid criticism. At the same time, I don't care.
Yes.
Because it's spectacle. Like, the spectacle of it is great. And you get to hear Judi Dench's speech while they're chasing about how the old garden, how you have to do things in the shadows or whatever. And she just has this great little speech, and it's so awesome that James Bond, she's literally about to get an assassinated attempt, and she's being like, no, I'm gonna actually I have something to say right now. I'm gonna share a poem from my late husband.
Yeah.
And it's like, God damn it! Every scene in this movie is so well. There's that plot kind of is stupid that he knows the exact time of it. That's dumb. But at the same time,
sure. Look at my criticism. The Home Alone attack at the end. It's a bit silly, over the top for what is a fairly grounded film. It's still fun. It's nice. It plays into
Albert
the themes.
Finney. Come on, he's so good in this.
But it plays
the old guy.
It plays off the same the old ways, right? The less technological route, and that's kind of what they're at, and that's what they're going for. And it's silly and goofy, and when the helicopter shows up, you're like, what is? But when films are done well, there shouldn't be a lot of criticisms and negative things to say, right? And I think the reason I let the most notable scene bleed a little bit, and I was like, well, maybe we should talk about some other stuff, right? Especially in the genre, like a Mission Impossible. Well, there's not a lot of negative stuff to talk about in this film, right? Yep. It's hard to be, technically our job here are critics. We're supposed to do something critical and use some type of higher thought process to develop some type of cohesive thought that harsh, not just that talks down or points out some flaws in this film. Yeah, sure, the plot holes are the plot holes, but for the most part, the movie's really tight, and it's not a Best Picture winning. It's a James Bond film, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For what
this thing is,
for what you're getting, oh man, it's great, right? I'll go back into a praise, I guess, at this point, because do you have anything else bad to say?
No. I kind of said my piece. I have a hard time nitpicking this, but I have massive blinders everywhere for this movie. But I understand that the plot's a little goofy, but I'm like, for a James Bond movie, this is a tight plot.
It's not bad. Yeah, I mean, look, what would I say? Javier Bardem sometimes is hard to understand him because he talks and he's got that thick accent, and sometimes he talks and if you don't have the close castings on, you're not sure what he's saying. And I'm like, that's maybe my least favorite or criticism is he's sometimes hard to understand.
Oh, and the CGI is a little spotty.
Yeah.
When he takes out his thing, that his face deformation.
Yeah.
Looks a little.
Yeah.
Doesn't look great.
No, that's one of those. They're like, you probably could have done more with less. Show a shot of the back of the head and show the disgust and let the actors do the work, right? Be like, oh my god, something like that. Like there's a criticism, right? But I also love Silva's character, and I think Javier Bardem does great things in lots of films. Sometimes he is hard to understand. The Pirates movie that he's in, they do this weird thing where it almost sounds like he's like underwater while he's talking. Oh boy, that was a bad decision, because I was like, I have no idea what this ghost pirate wants. Like, I not a clue in the world what exactly is going on in this film. So, but a praise. We'll end with that. Let's see. So, it's a very, very good movie. It's fast-paced, well-written, well-shot. The action set pieces are very memorable. It has a very solid through line throughout the film. There's themes. There's an overarching theme, guys. That's amazing. That's incredible. It's been like since Jurassic Park or something like that since we've had one of those. That was years ago, right? It's incredible. I mean, I guess the Peter Jackson films were also really good, but they didn't have that kind of that overarching theme, right? So that doesn't need them. And yes, I know The Dark Knight and The Avengers both did the plot where the villain gets captured on purpose, but it's a good plot. You don't see it coming, right? Like, it's not scripted. When it happens, you're like, what? Plus you get to meet and greet the villain more, so it works out, guys. It's an actual really nice, incredible way of telling a story. It's well thought out.
Absolutely. That works well when it subverts your expectations. When you expect it, it doesn't land so well. But I think because James Bond has
this is the best
so
version.
Many tropes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So Dark Knight, Joker gets caught, he escapes or something, and then there's still more movie, right? A significant amount of movie, maybe?
Him getting captured and blowing up the precinct doesn't... I don't feel like what's the motivation there besides to just blow up the precinct?
Yeah.
You could do that some other way, but I guess you need to clap and... this makes sense. He wants to get close to M, where he can trigger his plan of
Well, and because it seems like it's so cohesive, like I said, when you meet him, to when he gets captured, to when he's escaping, to when he's chasing down M, to when they're hiding, to when they're fighting, to when it's over. And it's just so nice, right? Dark Knight, I know I haven't seen it for a while, but I think he escapes the precinct, and then maybe he takes over some boats, but then Batman gets this this sonogram, and then the Fox is upset, but then he's happy because it gets destroyed, and then he fights the Joker and rescues some hostages, and there's stuff on a boat, and right, it's extra. And even Avengers, right, Loki gets captured, but he meant to get captured, and then Hulk attacks, and then they have to fix the boat, and then they have to go to
it drags.
This is the best version of that plot, right? So yes, Skyfall might have come out after these, but I think they did it probably expertly. So what's your final praise for yourself for this film?
I love this script. Every scene between two characters, there's times where I still just get goosebumps just from how they interact. Sometimes, it's a little cheesy when M and Ralph Fiennes or Ray Fiennes are talking with what they operate in the shadows or blah blah blah. It's that stuff can be a little bit hammy, but I just eat it up because we just go from scene to scene. The whole Javier Bardem trying to seduce James Bond introduction, that's amazing. Him and M talking, Silva and M talking is great. Moneypenny and James Bond, just the shaving after she almost killed James Bond. They have this whole moment, and he just kind of shrugs, hey, you missed.
Yeah.
It's just that is what it is, and they just have so, and then Severine scene. It's just every scene that you go through in this movie has just such tight dialogue that it makes me more invested in all the characters, and it brings out that's why I love it, because it's the Scooby Gang. M gets a scene, Q gets a scene, Q shows some faults and then kind of has to grow because of it, and Moneypenny shows that she's confident, super capable, but she kind of gets takes an ego shot because she's I've killed James Bond. Tanner has a whole has just Rory Kinnear, I think is the actor's name, who plays Tanner. He does a really good job of just subtle things where even he's talking to James Bond and he's working out, and you can kind of tell he's oh, you're kind of winded. We can do this later. It's yeah, let's. And then he leaves, and he just James Bond like passes out on the floor because he's just like so exhausted. It's like there's so just the dialogue and how the story flows. Such a tight script. There's only 3 writers. I know there's 2 guys, Purvis and Wade. They've been doing so many movies, and I cannot tell if these are good writers or bad writers, because sometimes they're in bad movies and sometimes they're in good movies. But for whatever reason, everybody hit the best, like did the best work that they could, and it came together. It's super tight. I love it.
Yeah, no, it is good. Like, it was one of those things I was watching yesterday. I was like, oh, that's a good part. That's a good part. I was like, when does this movie get bad? And then it's just kind of like, over, and you're like, oh, cool, great, yeah, sweet.
Like, I guess it's a little long, but at the same time, like I'm enjoying my ride the whole time. So
yeah, like honestly, 1.25 speed is fairly enjoyable, and that would make that movie under 2 hours. Right, so if that is an actual barrier for you, or like 2.5 hours, that's too long to commit. Also, guess what, guys? You can just pause, skip around, watch parts you like. Don't like watch that. You're not restricted to watch a movie start to finish.
Yep.
Well, except in a theater, you can't do that in the theater. It'd be weird if you stopped it and like rewound.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work, but it's all digital now. There's no film strips. For some reason, I was like, how do you rewind a film strip? That's where my brain went.
Nope, there are no gremlins in the little movie booth playing with the film, so and they won't make little hand puppets. Yeah,
Hulk Hogan will not yell at them.
No, he's not around. They're not. They're green, and Hulk Hogan isn't racist towards green people, so you wouldn't mind. That's it. So that ends our review of Skyfall. Anything we kind of missed that like you're like, I'm gonna be really upset if we didn't talk about that or say this?
I don't think so. I mean, we hit on a lot of the great scenes. I love Albert Finney. I love DB, like the whole him coming back from death.
Yeah,
and like I don't know. I think we hit everything. I don't really want to, because I can just talk about every scene or every line of dialogue in this movie forever. Cause
kind of what I've tried to avoid is the scene for scene retelling of these films and have it be a little bit more of like a natural conversation. Right, when it comes to reviewing films, so that's kind of what I always strive for. But yeah, like that's all that's left. So we can go scene by scene, be like, oh, that part was cool, and this part's cool. But then it's just going to turn into the Chris Farley show. But hey, remember that part? That was cool. Yeah, you like that? But if we have nothing else to add, how about are you buying it? So a lot of fan theories, a lot of people talking about this film afterwards, thinking this, that. Is James Bond brainwashed to be a good agent? Is this why he has such a visceral reaction to Skyfall during the interviewing section? Is that why he returned from the dead to defend M? Is that why he goes out of his way again and again and again to this woman who basically discarded him to step in? Is he actually a good agent, or is he just brainwashed?
Could be. I mean, he essentially was an orphan that they just adopted. So there's lots of stories about James Bond when he's younger.
Yeah.
And there is some merit in the books. A Man with the Golden Gun. James Bond died in the previous movie and came back and is like asking for M in MI6 and has been brainwashed to kill M based upon a certain trigger word. So there's something there. Okay. Like there is something there. Could be.
There is some other. If you're interested, there's one too where it was talking about how Silva was actually like another disgraced agent or something like that.
Yeah, and he was a former 00.
Yeah, former 00, and like they were like kind of as a weird resemblance to Brosnan. No.
Yep.
Huh. Would have been weird if Pierce Brosnan was the villain in this film, but he's too charming. He couldn't be.
And the interesting thing is, like, and they mentioned Hong Kong. In one of the last movies, he's, or at least a couple of movies, he goes to Hong Kong. Like,
yeah, there's something where there's a deleted scene, or you can, in one of the scenes, it's like the package is in Hong Kong or something is like visible. And it's supposed to have some meaning. I don't know. There was some other stuff. I didn't really have time as I was like scrambling to get this kind of done last night so we could record tonight. So it can be released tomorrow. Like, we usually don't record the night before. So it was a little bit of a rush, but that's why I didn't dive too much in that. But lots of fun stuff. If you're interested, I'd recommend maybe doing a deep dive. Check out some YouTube videos. It could be fun. But for that ends our review of this show. We have a Wayback Machine, a cultural significance, and then we're out of here.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right, Wayback Machine. So we have to travel back to November 9th, 2012, to my new abridged version. So we're going to try a new version of the Wayback Machine going forward. So maybe it takes a little less time off the beginning. And we'll go through there. So we're going to look at top TV shows. So these are the top, 5 or 6 top TV shows from 2012. So they were, number 5 was Person of Interest. Remember that hit show? NCIS. LA specifically, Big Bang Theory, Sunday Night Football, and NCIS. So those were the 5 most viewed shows in America in 2012. Yeah.
Huh.
Right?
See? Yeah, okay.
All right. Top cartoons. So these are cartoons that debuted in 2012. So we have the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Slug Terra, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, Barbie, Life in the Dream House, DreamWorks Dragon, and Ben 10, Omniverse.
Wow, okay. I'm really out of touch of cartoons at this point.
Yeah.
I only recognize, well, I know of Ben 10, but it's like, couldn't tell you what anything is, but know the TMNT. So
yeah, there's always it's always there. It's always existing.
It's literally always there.
How about top movies? So opening this week was Cloud Atlas. So that's why you didn't see this one, Tyson, because you're too busy watching Cloud Atlas.
Oh, my favorite movie.
Yeah, and you're probably broke because still in theaters. You probably spent all your money watching Paranormal Activity 4.
Yeah, I didn't get enough after 1, 2, and 3.
4. Which one is 4? They're all okay.
They all literally blurred to me. Like, the first one stands out the most, and then everyone after that, I was like,
is the fourth one where it's like they're the little girls? It's like the story of when they were little? I don't know. This is useless. Let's not talk about this. Argo was also still in theaters, and Impossible. Okay, all right. And if you waited a week or two, you could see Flight, Lincoln, Breaking Dawn Part 2, and The Life of Pi.
Oh, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing Breaking Dawn Part 2 because I need the conclusion to my Twilight movies.
So in order for my wife to watch, even though she has Italian heritage, she didn't want to watch the Rocky movies. Something sounds there. So I don't know if she's a real Italian, but in order to watch the Rocky movies with me, I had to watch the Breaking Dawn movies or like the Twilights. I have no idea what happened in any of those films. Like I was like, I don't know what happens in this film. Like I've seen it, couldn't tell you anything about it.
No, I know they play baseball at one point, and like music's playing, and that's actually like a decent scene.
The whole movie's you should watch the rest of them. They're all good. No, don't watch it. Top video games from November 9th, or I guess from November of 2012. So we have 007 Legends, Paper Mario Sticker Stars, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Lego Lord of the Rings, Epic Mickey 2, and the Wii U launches.
Oh, that's what I was doing. I was sitting there playing all my Wii U games.
I knew that would have tickled something. When I saw that, I was like, oh,
I did buy it at launch, though. So I was like, that might be a reason why I missed this. Because I was like, I just spent all my money on a Wii U for some reason.
Yeah, because we had like a Grey Cup party, and you came over, and there was a bunch of people, and you were like telling someone about like the Wii U, and they're like, oh, that's cool.
It's like, so is that like an attachment to the Wii? No, it's a new console. Yeah. It's like, so can I just like attach it to my Wii somehow? It's like, no, it's a new console.
Yeah.
Like,
so. And Grey Cup for anyone is the we have like Canadian football, and like when we don't have a Super Bowl, we have a Grey Cup. So you win, like that's our trophy. So any American listeners that are confused and angry that we're talking about CFL right now, they're like, oh God, that hated so much. So that was it. That was life in November 9th, 2012. What were we doing? I think I might have been unemployed at this point. So
yeah, we will probably watching the Grey Cup.
There you go.
Around this time.
Ooh, baby. All right. So then cultural significance for this film, and then we're done. So in this section, we look at game design, the lore, inspirations, turning points, interesting stories. We don't do any of that. It's also a movie. Why would we do that? Why would we talk about game design in the movie? It's stupid. Talk about how this movie relates. Give other examples to try to tie it all back together in the end. So last time we did a movie, I think I went around and found all of the locations around the world, and Tyson could have a James Bond themed vacation. And I was like, I think you're just in London a lot. And in China one time. So that's boring. Very boring.
Unless you want to visit Silva's abandoned island, which is a real place.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, and it's like based on somewhere outside of some abandoned island in like Hiroshima or something in Japan. So like you also could have went to Japan. But again, like China to Japan isn't that expensive a flight. And then you're just back to London. So, and go to Scotland. Anyways, so in honor of the ancient Mayan brothers from the south, and because I watched Marvel's What If while working on this, let's play a game about the end of the world. Cool, awesome. So the world was supposed to end in 2012. If it did, it didn't. But there is theories that the world did split off into 2 timelines, and we're now in the bad one. So that's why like life kind of sucks. So there's like a good version of yourself living like a better life somewhere else, and there wasn't a pandemic, and there's not recessions, and like everyone's having a good time, and we're just meant to suffer. So that's kind of cool. Anyways,
sounds fair. Can I go there?
What if the world didn't end, but we lived in a post-apocalyptic wasteland where they just didn't make movies? I don't know what other horrors there are, but there are no movies. But we could watch old ones, I guess? Would we be satisfied by how the big movie franchises that came out this year specifically, so the year of 2012, all of these movie franchises dropped? That's ridiculous. There's like 10 to 12 entries. I just picked these ones. So we're going to go through them. So if Men in Black, we never saw any other Men in Black afterwards, after Men in Black 3, would you feel satisfied?
Is this the one without Will Smith?
No, this is the one I think where they travel back in time, but Will Smith hangs out with like the Brolin, who's supposed to be the young Tommy Lee Jones, I think.
I think so.
And it's like a time travel.
You know what? Yeah. This one's a solid end. I would be okay if this ended.
Yeah, like the Hemsworth one was okay, but like,
Yeah, but this is kind of the end of that trilogy.
Yeah, that's
wraps
okay.
It up,
all right, cool. So we're satisfied. Awesome. How about the Hunger Games? So you only get the first one. You don't get to see the other 3 movies of the 2 books that they have, or 4 books, or whatever it is. So the Hunger Games.
You know what? I think I'd be okay with it because there's kind of, I forget, there's a Japanese movie that's kind of similar.
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale. I was like, that's kind of just like, it's just Battle Royale. If we just got, hey, here's like the fantasy North American version of Battle Royale. Like, I'd love that because it's like, then I could headcanon all sorts of cool stuff. I know they built it in the world. It's probably satisfying if you enjoy it, but I like making up my own crap, so I'd be okay with leaving this with so many unanswered questions.
Cool. All right. I think I've seen these too, but like, I don't know. They seem very
Yeah.
I don't know if stuff happens in them. You know, it's one of those. Like, I've seen these movies, couldn't tell you anything about them. So
I feel like the first 3 are repetitive, and then they're like, wait, we need to make this dark and edgy, so everybody dies in the end.
Yeah, maybe because
they spread it over like 2
The
movies.
second one's like something like that. I don't know. I don't think the sequels were any better or worse than the first one. So, meh. How about Madagascar 3? Europe's Most Wanted?
Yeah, we could probably have ended it there. I thought after Madagascar 2 we were pushing it, but no, we need to go to Europe for some reason.
All right. I don't know anything about Madagascar. How many movies? Over under 4.5 films in the series.
There can't be 5. There can't be. I'm taking the under, unless we're counting like the penguins things, but it's Madagascar. There's definitely less than 5.
So we have 6 in total if you count the penguins. So we have Madagascar, Madagascar 2, Madagascar 3, Madly Madagascar from 2013, Penguins of Madagascar, and then Madagascar 4. So actually maybe only 4, because maybe Madly Madagascar isn't. Okay.
I don't know, man. It seems like it might be a thing, so.
I don't want to. Oh, it's a video game. Or no, it's a video.
Okay.
Madly Madagascar. I don't care. All right, let's just keep going. Let's see. What other ones we got? How about The Amazing Spider-Man? Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, okay. The second one was terrible. I like the actors. But then
he kind of got to redeem himself a little bit in No Way Home, but like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's the best part of No Way Home.
Yeah,
and I feel like The Amazing Spider-Man could have been better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, first one was bad. The second one is bad. So if we ended at amazing, we'd be like, oh, cool. How about Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn Part 2? So it ended. And I don't think they've made more, so okay.
I think she took her money and ran. That's smart.
But like, there's no other. Like, there must be a sequel coming out, or they're redoing them or something. Anyways, how about Ice Age, Continental Drift?
Yes.
Which Ice Age movie do you think that is?
I think that's the one with the...
No. Which number?
4.
Out of?
6?
Oh, it's
6 maybe?
5 out of 7.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember if this is the one. Oh yeah, this is
like they probably were like, they met a girl iguana. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, this was with like pirates or something. There's one where they go like to an underground world. Okay. And there's like dinosaurs there.
Oh yeah, that was just Ice Age. That would probably be the one. Collision Course, The Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild.
And yeah.
Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Yeah. So that's the third one.
No, they meet pirates in this one. Okay.
Yeah, they meet pirates.
All right.
I prefer dinosaurs over pirates, but I guess
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, but
you can end it.
how about The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey?
Do we really want this?
Oh no, see, I want to see more. I'd be upset because like I got a good feeling about these next two films that are based on 150 pages of a children's story. Oh boy, how are they going to fill 6 more hours of screen time with that? If they read it to you really slowly, I think it would be less than that. So I think they're going to do good things.
Yeah, I would have been pretty choked because I'm like, but they made the other one so good. They just finish it. It's going to be good. It's guaranteed. Then I would have been eating my words.
And then like the timelines would have collapsed, and you've been like, here they are, and you're like, oh god, I'm gonna take the rad scorpions instead. All right, how about The Dark Knight Rises? I don't know if there's been any good Batman movies since this one. And then I had a legitimate question that I didn't look up. Did Ben Affleck have a Batman movie of his own? Because I don't know.
No.
Okay.
No, he never did.
Right.
His movie was Batman v Superman.
Okay, and then he's also in the Justice League, maybe.
And then it's Justice League. And then they force him into Wonder Woman?
Flashpoint? Is he in the Flash movie too?
I don't know.
But then like the other guy, the guy that kind of has a name that's like Patman or something, Patrick something. He was in Twilight. What's that guy's name?
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. There you go.
And the Batman.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. I honestly would have been fine if the world had ended before Dark Knight Rises come out, because then you've been like, man, I'm sure that next one would have been so good.
Yeah. And then Dark Knight Rises comes out, and there's like, here we have 24 hours, and then he somehow like flies across the world, and like 2 minutes has gone past. This movie makes no sense.
Yeah, it's like Bane's cool, sure, and like parts of it are cool, but then it's just like whatever. It's just over. I'm glad. And there's a nuclear bomb in the ocean, and he's fine. Okay, yeah, whatever.
Does have a Hines Ward makes an appearance.
Yeah, it's true. Runs for a touchdown. It's pretty exciting. And then finally, The Avengers came out in 2012. So again, a lot of franchises. I've excluded a couple too, right? But Avengers, would have been okay if you didn't get to see the rest of the MCU. Although Endgame is pretty damn good, you know.
It is. But I feel like had they ended it after this one, maybe they could have spent some time working on some more characters to build them up. As opposed to like, hey, Endgame happened, and then look at like, so what do we have left?
I mean, when was Endgame? 2020 or 2019? So 7 years later. It was 7 years of build up for that moment. Like, I still think that's one of the greatest like cinematic events of our lifetime. The fact that they told Endgame, it made sense kind of, and you could be like, in movie form. Neat. Yeah,
and it's just also like...
But yet, the fourth Wolverine movie, he had really bad CGI claws because the budget was already dead in those comic book.
Yeah.
But you got 7 years out of the Avengers properties. That's good job. Good job, team. But again, the fourth Wolverine movie, it's bad CGI claws because we couldn't afford anything better. Okay, cool.
Well, they also were like, they were trying to kill that movie as they were making it. And it was raking in money. And they're like, how do I tank this franchise? Yeah, I don't like these X-Men movies doing well. It's like, then stop making them. Sell the license. You're like, no, it makes money. I'm gonna keep making them.
Thanks, Fox. Cool. So that wraps up our cultural and James Bond. So again, that's a lot of cool franchises that came out. 2012 specifically, weird, right? Remember how you were ragging on last year for being like the year of the sequels? A lot of sequels in 2012.
It's true. It's almost like Hollywood's creatively bankrupt. They just make the same thing
and they
again
only
and again
make
and
sequels. That's their secret. It's always sequels. Cool.
If everything's a sequel, nothing is.
There you go. Sweet. So that wraps up their show. First show of the new year. Got a little James Bond. And I think we're back with a James Bond game in a couple weeks. Nothing really exciting. I wouldn't hold my breath. Everyone maybe breathe for the next 2 weeks. It's a handheld game. Should be kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
But
then we're gonna hit you with a back-to-back one too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it should be good. Sweet. Well, while my voice is still somewhat relative and I'm not completely dying, maybe I'll go grab a glass of water or something after this. I think we'll say goodbye and talk to you guys in a couple weeks.
See you.
Awesome. Bye.